Okay.
Hello, everyone. So glad to see everyone. It looks like Alec is making it too. We are recording now, so hello everyone. This is God Talk on March 20th, and we're going to be talking about some of the DEI erasures. We are going to go ahead and I'm sorry, there's somebody at the door. We are going to go ahead and do just some quick introductions. I want this to be like just 10 to 30 seconds. And the icebreaker question is, what's your favorite word? So I'm going to let somebody else start. How about Suzette? Go ahead and start.
I'm Suzette, she, her, still. And my favorite word is love. I say it about 100 times a day, so I try really hard to just say it as much as possible. Okay, so
yeah,
Alec, what's your favorite word?
I don't know. That's the problem. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Let's go.
You get to pick. That's the beauty of it.
I just said it.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. So Krager?
Krager, he, they. My favorite word is spirit.
Oh, of the wind.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Kidding. Me now.
Where are we? Okay, I'll go ahead and go. I'm Carol, she, her, and I really have trouble picking. The one that I like the sound of is Baba Ganoush, and I like the taste of it too, but I really like the sound of that. It just feels good in my mouth. And then there was a word that I was recently reminded of. I just learned it about 3 or 4 years ago in a book club, and it's palimpsest. And I also like the sound of that one, and I like the meaning of it. It's like a document that has been like written over, like how they used to in like when when papyrus was really expensive. It was they would like they could write like a whole new document on it, and historians would go back and try to find the original. So I saw that in a book of poetry in this book club where it was talking about a person, like their body being a palimpsest, like when they recovered from trauma, like a whole new story being written. So I love that word. Okay, who didn't go? Lynn?
Oh, yeah, Lynn, she, her. Man, that's a tough one. Can I have two?
Yeah.
Reading and writing.
I did.
Yeah, next to, I'm a reader. I've been a lifelong reader, and I like to write. So, and I currently have a part-time gig editing. So reading and writing, I guess.
Nice, that's nice. I skipped Marco, sorry.
Hey, welcome back.
Hi, Marco.
Okay, name and pronouns first.
Okay, bye-bye, Mom. Michael, whoa.
Whoa?
Yeah, whoa.
What, you like that word just because it sounds, you like to say, whoa? Everybody stop everything?
Whoa. Whoa.
Okay.
I like
Mona, would you like to participate?
It's a tough one. I don't know if I have a favorite word here lately. I think it's been crikey. So,
that's a good one.
So,
okay.
So I like crikey.
Crikey.
Yeah.
That sounds like something they'd say in Wisconsin, Mona. Crikey.
It's Australia.
Ah.
Crikey.
Nice.
I need.
Okay. Okay, so one of the
Wait,
things.
did Leo and Jared go?
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I thought they went while I was answering the door.
Sorry. Jared, pronouns, you know all of them. If it exists, it's a pronoun, it's fine. My favorite word is onomatopoeia because I like the sound, not because I really care about spelling race car backwards. No, like yeah.
My name is Leo. Pronouns are he, him. I don't have a favorite word, but I guess it would be bubbles.
Bubbles.
Mhm.
Hey.
Yeah.
I like that.
Good, that's an onomatopoeia, isn't it? I believe it is. Okay. So the subject tonight, one of the things that I heard this week that even like from that from veterans his annals that like the names of African American heroes and female heroes were just being erased. And this is not the first time we've heard something similar in the in what's been going on. We've heard lots of things about just many agencies, many federal agencies being told that they can't use words like diversity, equality, inclusion, like justice, like cis or trans, like LGBTQ, those kind of things. They can't be in people's descriptions of their organizations, etc. So tell me what you're hearing and your thoughts. Who would like to start?
Eva Blackie?
I haven't heard so much about that kind of thing with vocabulary, but today I heard that people that are receiving Social Security now have to present themselves live and in person at a Social Security office in order to qualify for benefits. So we're talking about disabled people, some without the ability to transport themselves to a Social Security office, or have a medical reason why they can't disconnect from whatever, or they're in a hospital bed or whatever. So to me, that sounds extremely severe and hurtful. I don't even understand any of it, any of the things that are happening. Is no one stopping this? Is this really what's happening? I mean,
Well,
I'm
I think
so confused.
there are lawsuits, including some from the ACLU, but nothing that I think has
Because
stopped
you're
some
talking
of
about
these
disabled people or
specific.
people with disabilities and
Well, I think
illnesses.
that's a different issue than what we're talking about.
Yeah,
The race
but it was
language.
just about removing people, or okay, so it's more about language.
Yeah, so there are some of the federal changes, like some of the firings, some of the federal people that have been fired. Some of those things have been reversed by a judge. But these things, I don't know if there's any agencies, maybe somebody else can answer this after, but Krager's had his hand up for a minute. But I don't know if there's been any agencies that have actually lost their funding because of the language that they use for inclusion and justice and things like that. There are definitely lawsuits to challenge some of these things, but of course, just bringing up a lawsuit puts your agency at risk of losing federal funds. Krager?
All right. Well, I work at CVS Health, which is a huge corporation. And I went to the Political Action Committee meeting this week. And then I also went to the Employee Resource Group meeting for the LGBTQIA community. And at this point, and I stress at this point, CVS Health has no intention of curbing or subsiding or cutting its DEI programs that have been in place for a number of years already. And actually, we'll probably, based on what I heard at the Political Action Committee, we'll be fighting the federal government to stay the company that we are, because apparently the federal government wants to break us up into smaller entities, because we have 300,000 employees right now. So we're about the size of Pittsburgh. So I am blessed that I work for an organization that for now has said it's going to stand its ground. It's not going to cut or do away with stuff like Walmart and Costco, or I'm not sure. Walmart did something, and other really large corporations, either said, ixnayed their DEI programs, or they scaled them way back. So yeah, I'm just pleased to be where I'm at for right now. Now, if the federal government comes down really hard, who knows? Who knows what these big executives are going to do?
Right.
But for now,
Target was one of the organizations that that I had supported previously, just because they didn't have some of the same history with the political candidates that other big box stores had, and they were one of the first ones. I remember when the bathroom issue first became most public. There was like the little saying amongst many LGBTQ people, oh, I gotta pee. Oh, let's go to Target. So, I mean, they were more inclusive back then. But anyway, Marco, I see the hands up. I see the hands up. Well, I'll get there.
yes, but Target has scaled back on its DEI program.
Right. So
we're supposed to be boycotting them now.
They've done a complete turnaround. That's what I was trying to get at. And so I was really shocked by that. I don't have anywhere to start shop now. Okay, Leo and Jared.
Go, Bum.
Oh, it's a kitty. Oh, we got our kitty here too. Yeah. But the so yeah, it's a painful subject because it's actually been happening for a long time on social media. Whenever it comes to like, for instance, I know Twitter has featured a lot of people experiencing their accounts getting blocked, their communications being stopped, right? And literally any sort of interpersonal conflict pointed at Elon Musk being, thwarted and, removed immediately. Form of censorship, like consistently for like ever since he seized X, right? Like he been trying, like consistently, he's been trying to shut down Grimes since like the dawn of time. His ex-wife currently has a kid together. Yeah. And the techniques of censorship is really a really old conqueror's move, right? And so with the things that are occurring within our the DEI stuff that's occurring with us, the orange one, there's been on a grand scheme, there's been a lot of danger within my workplace because we're the only inpatient treatment facility that treats our trans community. We're the only like inpatient treatment facility that's like really like all about like diversity, like all about like, you know, like doing whatever we can to help whoever we can in the Houston area. And so, you know, as a state funded free therapy resource, you know, it's been kind of scary for our organization. I know we have a bunch of other grants and stuff that aren't specifically from the government and stuff, but you know, that's something that we've been like closely monitoring. Now, I mean, the tactic, there's been so many of these executive orders that it's so difficult for everyone to know what's a law, what's not a law. And I think it's kind of by design, you know, mainly because like I heard the other day, for instance, that fentanyl is they're trying to get fentanyl classified as one of those little weapons of mass destruction things, right? And I'm like, I work at an inpatient rehab. Like, what do you people? That's people's drugs of choice. People be smuggling that stuff, right? Like, what do you like? What, if fentanyl gets caught on property, are we terrorists now? You know, like it's so much confusion going on that I think communication and like the distribution of information is really like everyone's fighting, everyone's doing their best, and everyone's really stressed out all the time because of it. I really hope it doesn't progress to anything more than just you know, Trump says this and then you do that sort of type deal. But Jesus, it's getting bad.
Okay, Lynn.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just everything everywhere all at once. And it's a lot of it is subterfuge to keep you from looking at, you know, the real damage that he's doing. It's so much for the American people to even consider. It's I don't know how we can. You just have to. Well, first of all, he's not going to be able to erase history. As a Black American who's lived in this country all my life, our history, Black history, has always been lost, stolen, or strayed. So our history is our history. They've hidden as much of it as they could. Black history wasn't taught when I was in school, and I never had the option to take a course in Black history. And every other kind of history of any person of color, they're trying to put aside. But that's just the white supremacist playbook. I mean, it's not new. And the LGBTQ community has always been, you know, like kind of right up there with people of color, and we're gonna denounce them whenever we can. But the fact is that the whole idea of race in this country has never been dealt with. And so this is just othering on a massive scale. It's just, if you're not white Christian male, then I don't want to have anything to do with you. And that's just the white supremacist playbook. There's nothing different about that.
I think the thing that's different is I think that, and that's a really good way to describe it, and I love that. And I love that you said, you know, we can't erase history, and I think it's up to us to just keep You know, as we said in many of the protests, say their names, say their names, say
Right.
their names.
Right.
You know, we gotta keep remembering. But I think the thing that's different at this point is just the authority. It's just the level of authority that this is coming from. When it comes from the federal government, it just takes on a whole new level. Yes, Marco?
But he only has, the only people that seem to be following him are the people in his administration. I mean, if you look around the country at the protests, there are Republicans in MAGA country who are angry. There are people who supported him, who voted for him, who are angry and are protesting.
That's what I hope. That's what I hope. I hope that
That's
I hope
really
this
happening.
pendulum to turn. But
If
I
you,
mean,
if you don't,
you know, I live in a blue city,
yeah,
and at least half of our state is blue, and but there are Trump supporters that you know
are angry.
that I've and they're not angry. And they're like, you know, I mean, one woman at our pool, she was talked to about the economic shutdown, and she was like, "Oh, I'm not doing that." And she's like, "Why are y'all doing that?" And we're like, "Just to show our unhappiness with the way that things are going." And she's like, "Well, this is exactly how we wanted it to go."
There are some
Um,
that we will never reach,
Not even white.
but if I encourage you, if you don't watch any news at all, from 3 to 5 on MSNBC, which is the last left-leaning station anywhere on television, watch Nicole Wallace's show from 3 to 5 Central Daylight Time. And you may find some other people on that station that you like, because that's the only station that is showing and telling what's really going on among among political activists on both the left and the right.
Turn on TikTok. Bernie Sanders has been going,
Yes.
you know, at big red states.
Yes.
A lot of rallies, and most of them are filled with Republicans.
Yes.
That are
that is happening. And my prediction is the more people, there are things that are happening, but it takes a while to get from Washington, D.C. and trickle down to everyday people.
Yeah, it's just that the news is not showing it, but
the news is not showing it. The Fox News is not showing it. Our local television stations are not showing it. They're not.
A lot of protests that are not being shown in the news.
Yeah, like I don't know about your timeline, but like my timeline is constantly enamored with people all over the world, and I mean world, protesting America, right? Like
Canada,
yeah,
Canada.
like, and we're not even just we're talking about Europe, we're talking about Canada, we're talking about
France asked for the Statue of Liberty back. They said send the Statue of Liberty back. I mean, come on.
They made a pretty funny comment today too, but I don't know how to repeat it on here. Marco, you've been patient for a while. What did you want to say?
Me, okay. What got money? You got where we can take me?
Oh, the protest that you went to in Santa Fe?
Yeah.
Lisa? Yeah. That was on TV, wasn't it? Well, I don't know. I didn't watch the news after that, but we sure made sure our friends knew that they had participated, and that one was about immigration.
Okay, hey.
Way to go.
Thank you. It's a long weekend.
Yeah, you had trouble. You know, protests are not usually accessible either. Sometime we're gonna have to have an hour about accessibility. I'm just hot about it right now, sorry. What was that, Jared?
Oh, I was just laughing because I'm like, yes, let everyone protest.
Well, my protest days are over. I've told you guys that. I did that already. But there are many ways to protest now. There's social media, there's There's calling your congressman, there's calling your senator, there's writing letters, there's supporting financially the ACLU and other groups that are taking the fight, to this administration. And it, it looks like he's winning, and that's always true when the devil is busy. It does look like he's winning, but truth always wins out. And God is still on the throne.
Yep.
Truth will set you free.
Yep.
Right.
Why is it? Oh, hi, Alec. My bad.
You can go first. It's fine.
Okay. So why is it? So I was just thinking, like, why do you think it is that that's always the white supremacist playbook, though? Like, why? Like, why is it that that's always the conqueror's move? Why is it that's always the sociopath's move? Why is it that that's always
Are you
the
talking about the censorship that you mentioned first, or the chaos?
Orwellian retelling of rethreading of history? Right? Like, why is that always like why? Why is it always a thing? But
because people wouldn't buy into it if they were, if it was just the naked truth.
Right.
Maybe that's one idea. Alec?
Yep.
I guess so I don't consider myself Republican or Democrat, but if I was like a Democrat right now, I would pounce and capitalize on Trump's failures. And like, but it seems like they're more concerned about like not to say there's no need to be concerned about it. Like there is valid concerns about the cultural issues like DEI or LGBTQ or whatever. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be concerned about that. But if I was a Democrat right now, I would capitalize on Trump's failures, like if there's a recession coming, or if I think the stock market went down a few days ago. I can't remember if it was a few days ago or last week, and the Democrats were focused on other stuff that they were talking about, and like they didn't even talk about the stock market going down, and I feel like that was a failure on their part.
language, yeah, it's sort of like a language barrier too, right? Like whenever we end up like the type of thing that the Democratic candidates usually campaign over is things like DEI, social cultural issues, and those type of things, right? And the type of things that the Republican senators often focus on is like the job stocks, and like the trade and foreign policy, and like it is an issue that the Democratic language hasn't adapted in a way that makes it easier for people to transition from being disenfranchised to like literally move over to a more, I guess, centrist or at least left-leaning side by speaking the language in ways that can be understood by the Republican, audience.
But Bernie Sanders has been hitting those points, though. He has.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, whenever the Democrats lost the election, he put out a statement about becoming the party of elites and not the working class. Like, he hit the nail on the head whenever he said that.
It's true.
Lynn?
And he's not so.
Yeah.
Lynn?
To answer your question, the reason that racism is always the calling card of white supremacists is because they believe that they founded this country, that this country belongs to them, that they established this country, that they built this country and made it what it is, and that no one helped them do it They did it all. So, but race is an artificial construct, as I've said. My favorite thing is you'll never meet another human being who was not made in the image of God. So the color of my skin does not matter. I mean, in Genesis, it didn't say that the white man was made in the image of God. All men were made in the image of God. And another thing that I'd like to say is we have gone beyond Democrat and Republican. These issues and what we face are not Democratic and they are not Republican. We are fighting right and wrong. We are fighting evil, and it's a battle between evil and God. When Joe Biden said that he was running to save the soul of America, he didn't say, I'm a good Democrat and you guys ought to elect me. I believe Joe Biden is a lifelong Catholic. I believe that he is a man who holds close to his religion. And I honestly believe that he ran with the greatest intent to do the best for America, to make America that light on a shining hill. So here's what happened. Here's what Trump did. This is a quote from President Lyndon Baines Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act in August 50 years ago. He said, if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. Now, that is a quote from Lyndon Baines Johnson. And that's what our White House resident did. He gave people someone to look down on. And he started with blacks, but then he came down the escalator in 2015 saying, Hispanics were not, Mexico was not sending its best people. And they were all thugs and hoodlums. And who did he just ignore a judge's order not to fly out of the country? So that, race had to be established in order for some white men, or the white men who believe they founded this country, to feel superior. But I ask you to think about what it says about a person who has to talk about someone else to make themselves feel better.
Right, and he's certainly gone beyond just race.
Right. Yeah.
And talked
Right.
a lot, including like the LGBTQ
Right.
People. He's talked
Right.
about people with disabilities. He's always
That's right.
people with
That's right.
disabilities.
That's right.
He clearly likes billionaires better than
Othering on a massive scale.
yeah.
Othering on a massive scale.
But these are I mean, Biden did some things that were, I don't think we can, I think we need to be careful about saying one party's right and one party's evil. One party's good, one party's bad.
No, I was talking about the man
think
Biden, not the party. Yeah.
Still, let's recognize that people are complex as well.
Yeah.
So, Gregor?
So if there's supposed Republicans in the streets now protesting, what I find unfathomable is some of them voted for Donald Trump only because they could not fathom voting for a black Indian woman. And that's the only reason they voted for Trump. And now they're dissatisfied or they're unhappy. Well, I just, after having this man in the public eye since the very first episode of that stupid show that he had on TV, I don't even know what the name of it was. I never watched an episode of it my whole life. you're
That makes two of
fired.
us.
You know, since he got into the public eye, if you couldn't just watch him and, you know, in his real life behavior, you couldn't just watch him anywhere for 5 minutes and not think to yourself, this man is just, this man doesn't sound like love at all. This man doesn't sound like respect. This man doesn't sound like honor. This man doesn't sound, you know, and yet, well, we would rather have him than a black Indian woman. Okay, well, so here
Have
we
you
are.
seen some of the testimony about rapes? That's,
The man's a 34-time felon. I mean, they rather have a felon in the White House than a
yeah.
person of color, than a woman. So,
Jared and Leo?
Oh, okay. You know, we were just talking too about that. You know, it is so like I always say it, you know, you'll hear me like once a stream say it, right? Like it is it's an issue now that it's affecting everyone, right? But these things have always affected everyone, right? In the grand scheme of things. So just a little bit more subtle than anyone can really pay attention to, right? Like that, the echoes of every hardship that your neighbor has experienced always somehow affects your pay, affects the way your day is going, affects the traffic, affects all the things that you go through in your day by day. But now that this sort of thing is happening out in the open, it's really good, actually, because America's been a really messed up place for a long time. Like we just thought that you could just, you know, Emancipation Proclamation, slavery, and then, you know, then it's cool, right? Without actually having a dialogue with the fact that people used to own people, right? And people used to kill people for being looking a certain way, right? And you know, they just thought that they could legislate their way out of this discussion, right? Out of the fact that you have evil actually evil grandparents, right? Like that you, you know, like you thought you could just legalize your way to a better world, right? And you know, like, and we just left the people who were owning people, who were killing people, who were, you know, genociding people, alive, really alive. Yeah. Right. We just left them alive. We let them continue. Right. And death was occurring constantly. To this day is occurring constantly. Right. It just depends on which space you're in, where you're at, whether you are in the Middle East or you are in the most ignorant of the Bible Belt. So I'm just grateful that today, o'clock, kitties, we get to like have the conversation after all these years that our forefathers avoided, because that's what it was. They just didn't they just didn't want to have that Thanksgiving dinner where they actually talked about the things. And so now, but it's a real shame that the only time that we get to talk about this is whenever it affects literally everyone, right? Like I feel like it's a little late, don't you think, for us to be on a global scale, everyone's workplace, everyone's like friendships, everyone's like circles, right, to all be on fire about this issue, you know, kind of right? Like the fact that the culture had to raise a sociopath, right, and place him into office, right? Like, you know, like, why didn't we have this discussion before? I don't know. We had to deal with the repercussions of our actions. Would have been so great. And back on the topic, back on the train of actually erasing history.
Yep.
Whenever it comes to history, we kind of even there's a lot of people fighting, and there is a lot of sort of actual erasure, right? Like, because like you know, y'all seen the doc. I don't know if y'all have, but there's like actual medical documents that are being lost, right? Because you know, deleted data that's being deleted, just because it's illnesses that pertain to Black people, like sickle cell anemia, or the transgender population, right? HIV treatment, etc. Right?
Yes,
These,
and I wonder if some of that wasn't like what Suzette was talking about at the beginning,
Mhm.
of having to have people come in person. I wonder if that's part of it.
It
It's-
is. It makes
let's see your physical abilities, let's see your color, let's see your, let's see what freak flag you fly.
no, it really, and it's actually occurring on a large scale, like a very large scale. Like we don't even know all the things that our country is doing outside of TikTok. Like we don't really know all the things that are happening in the world aside from people who are live broadcasting them like on these media sources. And there is so much censorship. There is so much everywhere, and it's just it's absolutely abhorrent. And it reminds me of that time back in the Bible, right? A long time ago. Y'all may not remember that. But there was once a time when it was really, really bad in the church. Like you couldn't say the wrong thing without getting stoned. You couldn't, you know, think about the wrong thing. You couldn't have like any sort of inappropriate anything because people took the law to mean the law, right? And you know, in times like these, Jesus's are born, Jesus are born, right? Historically speaking, that's always been the case, right? There's always been a Messiah. There's been so many Messiahs. I don't care what religion you guys care about, but there's been a lot, right? And you know, like whether you're talking about the Great Mahabharata War in the Indians, not Native Americans, but a religious system, whether you're talking about Buddha, whether you're talking about the great kings that came on to save some the Mayan people from the, you know, like there's so many messiahs, and so I really look forward to seeing what they try to erase, because that usually starts this process of really, really amazing people stepping up to do something about it.
Good point. Frederick?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, when I was after seventh grade, so I think I was 12 or 13, you know, my father pulled all the kids out of school. We were in a family band and we started going on tour across the country in a motorhome and all this. And so I had to get my high school education through correspondence school. And so I went to the American school in Chicago is where I would get my lessons. They would mail me studies, lessons to do and tests, and then I would take all that and then mail it back. But one of the things that I had the opportunity to do because I went to the American school was I got to take a course in Black history that was written by Black people. And that was one of the most beneficial experiences I ever had in my whole life. So I just wanted to say that. I would, you know, that was a great thing to happen to me in my early teens, was to go down history lane written by the people that it actually happened to.
That's beautiful. Yes. Yes. History matters. And that's what a great opportunity. And I hope more and more people have opportunities like that. I know that in my seminary, the Christian history class that we took was pretty unusual, and it was taught by one of the first professors at that Episcopal seminary that was MCC at that time. He later left MCC, but anyway, he really focused on teaching history from the underside, is how he called it, and we talked about so many interesting things. We never focused on the kings and the emperors. We focused on what was life like for a slave or a woman, or what were the hierarchies, what was going on, and reading between the lines, and what do we know? How do we know it? So, how can, we've talked some in some of these sessions about what we as individuals or communities can do. One thing that's been on my mind recently is just how can our church embody a better way? How can we be a shining light in the world? I don't know. We have our values. Are we living our values? We've named our values, and they include things like inclusion and diversity, things like that, and welcome.
At this point, I want to know what Alec Sweet Kitty's name is. Alec, I can't remember your kitty's name.
Oh, her name's Manu. It means kitty
Manu.
in French.
I thought it was Manu, but I didn't want to say it and then be wrong.
It means what in French?
Manu.
Kitty. Manu translates to kitty from French.
Nice.
Manu.
Nice.
Thank you. Back to our regular scheduled program.
Leo and Jared.
Oh, did you?
No, did you raise it?
Yeah, I did raise it. Oh, okay. So okay, I was just making sure because I know my baby was like excited about something. Okay. So I mean, there's always the most important thing that we have to remember is we have to always remember that we gotta clean our own house first before we can focus on cleaning others. Right? Like that's it, right? Like that's really, it really don't matter what we think we could do, right? But if we rotten, then we rotten, right? Like right? Ain't no such thing as two black holes making a sun, right? Like when you trying to make a light out of two dark places. What do you mean, right? Like come on. So yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
And also, if we can show up for our brothers and sisters, let's try to show up, because there's no reason why our church is mainly LGBTQ, whatever. And I heard a comment that this year was the largest group that had ever shown up to the HIV walks, which it was maybe 12 or 15 of us. But I was telling my husband, there's no reason why this group couldn't have been larger. Just because I don't have HIV doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me, or that it's not going to affect my family down the road or anyone that I love.
Right. Right. Just because I am not an immigrant doesn't mean that I can't fight for him. Just because I'm not black doesn't mean, just because this doesn't currently affect me doesn't mean that this administration, that the act of resistance isn't being honored. And, why do I have to wait for it to affect me? Right? It was great that so many people showed up, but, I'm really sad that it wasn't the entire congregation. It's okay, Alec. I know you fell asleep. I got mad love for you. You're doing your best.
Yeah, I didn't wake up until like 10:30 that day.
It's not about you. It's okay, right? You're allowed to sleep.
No, but if you can, like, you know, show up for everyone. Yeah. I think that's what we could do.
You're muted, Carol.
That was well said. Y'all are all you have so many great ideas and just beautiful ways of looking at things.
Man,
I wonder what God is looking down, thinking right now.
Oh my
guess-
gosh. Well, see, I'm so glad you asked. Not that he has told me directly, but this is how I look at it. I believe since COVID that God has been speaking directly to the world. And I think that it's our responsibility to help everyone else see that God has been speaking directly to the world. Think about COVID. It shut down the world. It didn't just affect the United States of America. It shut down the world. And because the world was shut down, we were able to see the George Floyd atrocity. And we were able to, to see that Black lives do matter. And so a lot of groups came out when the first White House residency's term, people demonstrated all over the world against him. And there have been fires and floods and tornadoes and hurricanes and snow in Texas, in Houston, Texas, for 3 days, snow on the ground. So I think that God is speaking to us. And if we're just sit down and listen and pay attention to what's happening, he's not finished speaking to us. And it's our responsibility to listen, to see, to look, to realize, and to tell the story. I honestly, that's how I see it. And obviously not enough people got it the first time, because we had a whole group of people who voted for him the first time, and they didn't believe him when he said he was going to do what he's doing. He said it. The guy didn't lie. He said it. We knew that he was not the president that we had known all of our lives. We knew that. And I liken that to when the devil took Jesus on the mountain and said, look out over this. I'll give you all of this if you'll just bow down and worship me. What was one of the first things that I saw in the last administration is how the cabinet all got together and just, had to applaud and thank him for giving them their jobs and praise him and, everything. To me, it's like, you can do whatever you want. You can break the rules. You can break the law. I don't care. I just need you to worship me. I just need you to tell me what a great guy I am. I just need you to love me. So there are so many parallels of what I have read, pretty much for the last 30 years, in things that happened in the Bible, kings and ways of looking at things, and then just looking at Jesus's life and what he was up against. And I think it's up to us to just continue to tell that story. We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. And so we have to do good works. God has prepared us in advance for this. Well, yes, is it going to be tough? Yeah, it is. But think about crucifixion. How tough was that?
Well, Jesus stood for so much, and there was so much oppression in those days. Now We are getting to the end of our hour, and I do want to honor our time. Jared, I see you have your hand up, and I want to make sure that if anybody else wants to say something, that you feel comfortable, you know, raising your hand or speaking up. Go ahead, Jared.
And I think so. Like I remember, to sort of ground it back to the censorship question. Like whenever I saw like the world stop and you know the Black Lives Matter movement was born, I actually witnessed a form of suppression, like message suppression that I actually wasn't even aware of before this. That sort of my eye to. I noticed that even beyond the act of censorship of literally like removing the ability to be seen, right? There was this thing that brands did, where you know rich people, the rich. Sorry, I didn't mean to call them people. Would often they would literally write like post in solidarity. Nike made Black Lives Matter shirts, right? They would co-opt the message, right, of the movement, and then they would use it to, well, their financial gain, but also to, and this is the most important part, they would dilute the message, where abolish the police became defund the police, right? And you know, you could just like, you know, like reduce the income by like $1, and you just did it. You defunded the police, yay, right? Like you could just give them a small little price cut, and then you did it, yeah. Like justice, no justice, no peace, right? Became like, you know, remember Trayvon, right? Like remember, right? Like so many different narratives, right? I didn't even know that this skill existed because I always thought it was just, you know, the history books were always like, hey, we're just gonna kill this person, or hey, we're just gonna suppress their representation. But I saw in like live action the way that the rich, that the media, that the powerful could literally pretend to be on your side. Like Democrats pretend to be on your side and subvert the message and dilute the message, right? We wanted people to die, right? We wanted justice, right? We wanted like police officers to be held accountable for their actions. They kill people, right? And you know, then we wanted justice for them, right? They needed to serve time or get a penalty, right? This was the message. The message got diluted. It became, oh, you know, we just give you sick leave, right? Oh, you know, it's super cool, right? Oh, you know, like we're just gonna we're gonna do an internal, like the police are gonna investigate the police, and right, and you know, as long as there's an investigation, and the police, you know, that the police didn't do anything because we're the police, right? You know, like, and I think on the topic of censorship, that is a very important thing to know, because censorship isn't always just I'm preventing you from talking. Sometimes it's I'm pretending like I know what you're saying, right? But I'm weakening the message, or I'm removing the bite from your narrative, right?
Or you just don't cover it. Like, anyone notice, like, while the whole 4 years Joe Biden was in office, not a single story about a Black person getting killed by police? It's not because it didn't happen. It's because the media had no interest in covering it under his administration.
Yeah. And these sort of tactics, they exist. And I think the cool thing about this administration, and there's really the only cool things that exist about these administrations are bad things, is the fact that now everything, like big brain people don't have to work as hard to describe the subtle ways in which this media empire has been functioning, right? It's pretty much out in the open, right? Like Trump is basically a manifestation of everyone's collective unconscious, right? Like I don't even have to say, hey, you know, that subtle thing that you did was a micro. No, I just say, nah, Trump did that. What are you talking about? You're racist. Right? And so it's kind of really cool that we're talking about the effect of this censorship thing, because we've learned a lot in the past few years, and now we can use that. We can use that.
Yes. Well, we need to wind it down. I just want to say before we close, just, you know, remember that God is with us in this, that we're not fighting these fights alone. And that love is the most powerful force in the world, and God is love. So that is powerful.
Amen.
So, Krager, would you like to close us out in prayer?
Certainly. Holy God, Holy Spirit, my favorite word, Spirit, you are present with us even now and always will be and always have been. And we're thankful for each person that has come to God Talk this evening. The topics are never easy, but the discussions are usually fascinating and eye-opening and ear-opening. And so in the interest of shortness and sweetness, our prayer tonight, God, is that you help the collective unconscious become conscious. And we ask ever so preciously in Jesus' name, amen.
Man.
Amen. Thank you. Amen. I love
Thank you,
that.
everyone.
I love that.
Thank you all for being here. I love y'all.
Love you
Bye,
too.
y'all.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Later.
Bye. Bye.
Later.
Bye, Marco.
Bye.